What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we got an album reaction from Burton Cummings, Dream of a Child, brought to us by a friend, longtime patron and supporter of the channel, Joseph. Thank you, Joseph. Always appreciate everything you bring me. Bring me an eclectic mix of stuff from Paul Simon to Marillion to Burton Cummings. So if you'd like to be like Joseph and support this channel, the patrons make it work. Check out the Patreon link below. Let's jump in to some of Burton Cummings. Let's talk about the background of him and this album before we dive in. There is not a lot on this album out there, but as always, Joseph provided me with a lot of insight. But Burton Cummings is a Canadian musician, singer, and songwriter, former lead singer and keyboardist, of course, for the Canadian rock band The Guess Who. During his decade in the band, from 65 to 75, he sang, wrote, or co-wrote many hit songs, including American Woman, No Time, Share the Land, and many others. So Joseph has this insight. This was, in Canada at least, the peak of his solo success, being the first album by a Canadian artist to go triple platinum and spawning two of his most enduring solo hits in Break It to Them Gently and I Will Play a Rhapsody. Anyway, why this album? Well, Joseph says it's an important one to him as it represents his first memory of music and indeed of anything. He says he can distinctly picture this album playing and seeing that somewhat questionable by modern standards album cover sat atop our old record player. To have that view, I presumably must have been carried in the house I first lived in, and we moved out of that house when I was 2 years old. So lifelong fan is a term that gets bandied about, including by me from time to time, but I think it's pretty apt here. I would say that as well. All these many hundreds of years later, or however old I actually am, little inside joke with me and him, I still love it in just about everything else Burton has ever done. Joseph says in terms of personnel, all cuts feature Burton on piano and vocals. All bar the closing title cut feature the rhythm section of Eden Gardner, described in the original album notes by Burton as his second lieutenant since he left The Guess Who, on bass, and Rick Schlosser on drums. However, no fewer than 7 cuts feature 2 drummers, which is a quite odd and unique way to go about things, with either Jim Gordon or Toto's Jeff Porcaro joining Schlosser. Go back one album to 1977's My Own Way to Rock, and you'll find that producer Richard Perry decided to use double drummers on a couple of cuts to provide them with added sock. Those sessions were Burton's favorites he'd ever played on, in which I think he overdid replicating them here on his first go at self-producing. He says it does work. Joseph says it does work in most cases, but I Will Play a Rhapsody, for example, is not a song that screams out for 2 drummers. And tellingly, Burton never used this approach again. There are a variety of guitarists helping out also, but in most cases, either Burton's former Guess Who colleague, Randy Bachman, or Jeff Skunk Baxter, fresh from having left the Doobie Brothers, who he joined when his former band stopped touring. Yes, I do mean Steely Dan. And Joseph notes that you can tell Burton was working with the cream of the crop here. I saw that this album did win the Juno Award for Album of the Year. So there's my background. All right, let's jump into this thing with the opening track, Break It to Them Gently, written by Burton. There's going to be a lot of covers on here. I'll note those. Joseph says both sets of liner notes mentioned it was inspired by a TV show. Maybe Burton was being reticent at the time about precisely which show, but these days he's perfectly happy to tell people it was Kojak. The single hit 9 in Canada and #1 on the adult contemporary charts, and his biggest solo hit in New Zealand, reaching 11, but managed no better than 85 in the US. Personnel is Dick Wagner on lead guitar, Randy Bachman on rhythm guitars, acoustic and electric, with Jim Gordon as that second drummer. And Joseph did provide the liner notes on this song. So here's what Burton says about it. Burton says it's one of my fastest written songs. I'd seen something on television about a young man who had witnessed a murder. The men who had done the killing had seen the witness, so from that point on, he was a marked man. He could never go home again or live a normal life. In the song, I hypothesized about a phone call to his best friend, how he explained his situation, that he would never be returning home, asking his friend, please, break it to them gently about what had happened. It was finished in about 25 minutes. It's been one of the most consistently played songs on Canadian radio for well over a decade. I guess it was 25 minutes well spent. Always love to see what the artists think about this thing, especially because, as I mentioned, there's not a lot of info out here on this album. I will have the lyrics up as always. Follow along. Won't say much during the reaction. And if it's your first time joining us here, the music will not be in the reaction, but there will be a link below where you can watch along if you want to. Thanks again, Joseph. Break It to Them Gently. Wow, what a way to start. And I mean, this is on Spotify for me. I know Joseph, it's not on Spotify for him where he is in the world, but it is for me in the US. So There's not going to be a ton of plays of this since this album's not available everywhere, but this song has almost 1.5 million plays. One other song has 500,000. Nothing else even has 80,000. So obviously, this is a popular tune of his. So good. It's amazing that he wrote this thing, right? From what I talked about at the start of the liner notes, that it's, he's watching a TV show, and Joseph mentioned it as well, but it works. I mean, you could tell what this song was about even if you didn't know that background, but basically just writing to somebody, telling them, break it to them gently when you tell my mom and dad, when you see my baby sister, be as kind as you can, and break it to my grandma who said that boy's wild and bad, because grandma's going to say, I told you guys. Break it to them gently when you tell them I won't be coming home again, because I'm running with a gun and it isn't any fun as a fugitive. God, I want to go home, Lord, I wish I was home. When you see my lady, so now he's got to go tell the parents, the sister, the grandma, now he's got to go tell his lady, whether it's his wife, his girlfriend. I got in too deep with strangers, thinking they could help me find my way, but nobody warned me of the dangers, and it's always the young and foolish that have to pay. I thought that was fantastic. I thought that part of that song was fantastic. And then great instrumentation, which is what I expect, especially with the lineup that is on here, but going to be shocked. I know it's only one song in if this is not on my favorites. Now we're going to go to Hold On, I'm Coming. Joseph said, I don't care that Burton doesn't think he should have ever recorded this. I adore his version, which, like the Sam and Dave original, has Steve Cropper on guitars. That's crazy. Jeff Porcaro is the second drummer, and horns are arranged and conducted by Steve Matteo. I found it's a 1966 single, as Joseph already mentioned, recorded by soul duo Sam and Dave, issued on the Stax label, very famous and influential Stax label, influential in the just in the history of rock and roll. And Elvis made a little comeback from Elvis in Memphis, was at the Stax Studios. The song was written by the songwriting team of Isaac Hayes and David Porter, who came up with the title of the song spontaneously when Hayes was trying to get Porter to hurry out of the Stax Studio restroom and get back to songwriting. So he must have yelled at him, hold on, I'm coming. So what a fantastic way to get a title. Let's check this one out. Hold On, I'm Coming. What you would expect from a song written right in 65, 66, as far as lyrically, pretty simple. Just tell them, hold on, I'm coming. Don't worry about it. If you're having a hard time, if you're having difficulty, don't worry, I'm going to be there. I got it all under control. You need a quick reaction, call on me. So the lyrics, they're fine, catchy, a little bit of formulaic, the way that they did things back in the days, whether it's Stax or Motown or any other songwriting factory, but it works on this song. The instrumentation is quite impressive. The horns are fantastic, and Burton's voice, like especially in the first verse, you wouldn't know it was the same guy that sang that last song, which was fantastic. But I really enjoyed this one, man. Quick little trip, 2 minutes 50 seconds, like songs of that day were. But I mean, as Joseph, I'm glad that he recorded this. Now we'll go to I Will Play a Rhapsody. Burton wrote this one. It was a Canadian top 20 single. You got Bachman on guitar, Schlosser and Gordon combo on drums. A lot of plays on Spotify, so I know this was the other hit. Let's check it out. I Will Play a Rhapsody. Wow, that was really good. I am so impressed with these first three songs. And I know two of them were hits, and one of them was a fantastic cover. So we're 25% through the album. I'm highly impressed. I hope the other 75% can keep on rolling. Really well done. Totally different, right? Arranged in a different way, more dreamy, more chilled. The piano playing, the keys by Burton are in here much more prominently. A little bit of harmonization on certain lines to bring in the power of it. But he's basically just telling her how much he loves her, and the whole hook of it for I Will Play a Rhapsody. Rhapsody is a emotional literary work, a story, a poem, a song, cleverly disguised it so it's not been heard before. And I will sing a lullaby, let you know I'm near you through the night to keep you warm. How will you know? Where should you go? Falling through feeling and falling through time. You won't know me to see me, but I'll come to you in rhyme. And then he hits that chorus up again. Very catchy. Just a pretty song, for lack of a better word. Now we'll go to the fourth track, Wait by the Water. Actually a Bobby Darin song. So this one's a cover. Joseph said with Skunk Baxter on guitar, Plas Johnson on saxes, and female backing vocals from Becky Lopez, Vanetta Fields, and Shirley Matthews. Sounds like this one is going to be quite the journey. Wait by the Water. Wow, I didn't see this thing going that way. First off, though, I'll say the vocal, right? It's like the second song, Hold On, I'm Coming. Like this totally different vocal delivery by Burton. I mean, he flat out brings it. We had some horns. We had almost a Stax feel on this, and it's an older song. It's a Bobby Darin song. But I did not see this thing turning out the way it did. He starts out and said, I got a gal named Lillian. She caught me out with Jenny Lee. Burton, come on now. She wrote me a note. I'll tell you where. Here's what she wrote. She said, I'm going to the deep blue sea. So I'm like, okay. And I cried, wait by the water, Lillian. He keeps going, because I'm going with you in the water. Said I ran down to the seashore, arrived just about 3. There was my Lily, so cold and chilly, walking in the deep blue sea. And I cried, wait by the water, all that. And then, this is what I didn't see coming. You know, I told my Lil that I loved her, and Jenny Lee was just my friend, because that's always, you know, that's kind of the default. No, man, we're just friends. She never turned around. She walked right in and drowned. And that's how the story ends. Okay, this upbeat, like, wait, but man, this chick, because Burton cheated with Jenny Lee, just walked straight into the water, and that was that. And I guess he didn't try to save her. So, okay, fantastic song. I mean, super enjoyed that. I kind of seem like I shouldn't have, right? Since of the subject matter. But now we're going to go to a song that it is a song that I know. I didn't know when I saw this list. I'm like, is it that song? But When a Man Loves a Woman. Joseph said Canadian guitarist Norm Macpherson makes a sole appearance on the album here, along with Jimmy Phillips on Hammond organ. Again, horns are arranged by Matteo, and backing vocals are by Lopez, Fields, and Matthews. I found written by Calvin Lewis and Andrew Wright, and first recorded by Percy Sledge in 1966. I know that version. It made number 1 on both the Billboard Hot 100 and the R&B. And then I know this version too. In 1991, Michael Bolton recorded it, and his version peaked at number 1 on both the Billboard Hot 100 and the Billboard Adult Contemporary Singles Chart. That song was everywhere. Curious to how Burton delivers this vocal. When a Man Loves a Woman. Burton did a fantastic job on the vocals, man. He is a very talented vocalist, can bring things in all different genres. Here's why you got to read the lyrics, boys and girls, because I know this song, like I said, it was all over the place in 1991 with Mr. Bolton. The video was everywhere. But you don't think about what the lyrics mean. This is a fantastic song because of the message. It's not, most people think, you know, when a man loves a woman, it's a love song. It's absolutely not a love song. When a man loves a woman, can't keep his mind on nothing else. He thanked the world for the good thing he's found. If she is bad, he can't see it. She can do no wrong. Turn his back on his best friend if he put her down. Most of us, we live long enough, see someone that we friends with who are with a significant other who's bad for them, but they can't see it. They're blinded by love, so to speak. And maybe you try to tell them and then they come back at you and it's like, dude, I'm just trying to tell you. So yes, when a man or woman spends his every last dime trying to hold on to what he needs, he gives up all his comforts, find him sleeping in the rain. If she says that's the way it's got to be, she's got him wrapped around that finger. But this man loves you, woman. I'll give you everything I have. Trying to hold on to your hot first love. Baby, please don't treat me bad. But then he gets to it. When a man loves a woman deep down in his soul, she can bring him such misery if she's playing him for a fool. He's the last one to know. Love and eyes can never see. Blinded by the light of love. Love and eyes can never see. Yes, I just read you every lyric because this is such an iconic song, yet most people don't realize, as I didn't until I read these lyrics and really processed them. Man, this is about a woman who's playing this guy, right? And he goes all in, gives her everything, and then she just screws him over at the end. And that is usually how it is. Love is blind. So be aware, boys and girls. Don't give everything to that significant other. Hold back a little bit of it for yourself because it could turn out really badly. Now we'll go to the last track on side 1, Shiny Stockings, originally written by Foster and Hendrix. Not that Hendrix. Joseph says, our LP labeled this simply as Shiny Stockings, but on the CD reissue, it's snappily retitled as Sing Shiny Stockings, aka Shiny Stockings, which is what you'll see below on the Spotify list. I have no idea. The song is definitely different and closes out a surprisingly covers heavy first side. This is originally recorded by Count Basie all the way back in 1957, so maybe Joseph remembers that one. All right, Shiny Stockings or Sing Shiny Stockings. Now, what I'm looking at here in the lyrics, I told you it was Hendrix and Foster, but I also see that Ella Fitzgerald on what I'm looking at is also credited as a songwriter. You know, I'm a broken record here, no pun intended, but man, Burton is versatile because he's singing this just quick pace to get oh really, oh really, oh really. This is different kind of feel. Obviously, Count Basie, 1957, music was a little bit different. Tons of lyrics, packed into a 2-minute, 23-second song. And basically it's, look, he loves this girl, but really he's just letting you know that he goes for looks. He loves her face. He loves all this other stuff, but a pretty leg. That's why those shiny stockings look so good. But a quite clever song, and it's cool to see it because it was written in 56, 57. You can see how things are a little bit different, how we approach things lyrically. Really strong way to finish out a fantastic A-side. Well, now we'll kick off side 2 with a song written by Burton called Guns, Guns, Guns. Joseph says, with Skunk Baxter on guitars and Porcaro back on drums tool number 2, this version easily surpasses the Guess Who original to my ears, but those ears are biased, having known this version for about 20 years before I heard the version from that Rockin'. Speaking of which, in the liner notes for the excellent iconoclastic reissue of that album, Burton notes the origins of this song. Guns, Guns, Guns has a direct sentiment to me, Burton says. It was written after I saw a group of American hunters board a flight on the way back to Canada. There were these 30 guys all dressed like Elmer Fudd coming to our country to kill all our ducks and deer because they had already killed all of theirs. I remember being really pissed off, and I think the song echoes that sentiment. And I found, obviously, as Joseph talked about, recorded by the Guess Who from that album Rockin'. The single release spent 6 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100, peaking at number 70, reached 58 in Canada. I've been looking forward to hearing this song after I had done that research to figure out, and after I saw what Burton said this song was about. Let's check it out. Guns, Guns, Guns. That is more the sound that I expected just going into this album. Not knowing anything about Burton, just knowing a few of the hits from what he's put out, with groups. This is more what I expect. Start out with the jam session, kind of first 40 seconds of it. We're built up instrumentally with no lyrics. And then we get into, so it really is about the Skunk Baxter, I think, guitar work on here. And also the drumming's fantastic. And the piano and the keys are going to be good with Burton on them. But the song itself is actually quite simple because I think it more is that jam session. He just throws out little things. Godspeed, Mother Nature, never really wanted to say goodbye. Shoot a few, knock them down, cost you half a buck now. Guns, guns, guns. And babe gives you kisses if you hit a rubber duck now. Guns, guns, guns. You'll be the Red King, I'll be the Yellow Pond. Guns, guns, guns. The Eagles all gone and no more caribou. So he's basically taunting them and then showing his outrage, which, man, I could go on a little tangent here about guns and all of that stuff. I won't, but let's just say, Burton, that you and me are on the same page with a lot of stuff that you're saying there. Now, let's move on to Takes a Fool to Love a Fool. This one was written by Burton. Joseph says, with Tom Brunley contributing pedal steel and our female backing vocal trio back one last time. Just another example of what I mentioned earlier on in this reaction of how Burton can just go across multiple genres seamlessly. This is a straight up country song, right? The pedal steel guitar. You're going to get that sound, but it's kind of all in that sound. And the story of it is, you're a fool, baby, you're a fool. You play the game, but you change the rule. I wish to God in heaven I could hate you, but I can't. It takes a fool, baby, to love a fool. So she messed him over, and he knows he shouldn't care about her, but he can't help it. He does. How many nights must I cry, wiping the love tears from my eyes? I feel you beside me, even though it's just a dream. Honey, I care. Don't you know that I care? You're a fool, you're a fool. How many times can you try to see me with an unbiased high? When you hold him so closely and he calls you a nickname, honey, I'm there. Can't you feel it? I'm there. So she left him for another guy, and he can't get over it. That's kind of the telltale story of this life and relationships. I enjoyed it. Country music, most of it's not my thing. I do enjoy a little bit of it, but this was really well done. Now we're going to move on to another Burton written song, Meaning So Much. Joseph says, Bachman on guitars, with Bachman and Cummings additionally credited with percussion, and Jim Gordon as the second drummer. This was the third single and a minor Canadian hit. Went to 75-14 on their adult contemporary charts. Meaning So Much. This one has some fantastic lines in here, man. I don't know if this is any sort of true story, but man, don't mess over Burton back in the day, ladies. Much more rich instrumentally. I thought that the second drummer really worked on this one, right? It stood out, but there's a lot of arrangement going on in here. It's just really fantastic. He starts out, oh, sweet, sweet, sweet loving babe, how'd I ever let you go? Miss you more as the years go rolling by. And you're thinking, oh man, this guy, he let her go. It's a love lost, and I might still be near you. If not for one small thing I know, you lied when I looked you straight in the eye. But oh, you're meaning so much. Oh, love her, meaning what you're meaning now. oh, meaning so much to me. And then he repeats those same things. Ask me how well I remember nights in September, lying, holding each other's loving charms. And I might still be near you if not for one small thing I know. I found you in someone else's arms. Uh-oh, chorus again. It's impossible he's tried to drink her off his mind. No sense in crawling back to her, he says, because he knows what he'd find. She's a liar and wouldn't be faithful to him. And, he just kind of laments that. But I really enjoyed that. For the lyrical content, they could have taken this a different method kind of musically and with the arrangement on it. I'm glad they took it this way. Very catchy, very upbeat. Like I said, that second drum really stands out on this one. Now or two, it all comes together. Got Burton writing this one as well. Joseph says, Jim Gordon is here again, along with another Jim Horn on saxophone. Has anyone ever been more appropriately named? I think not. Skunk Baxter on guitars and the Cherokee Studio All-Stars. Joseph says, presumably just whoever was in the studio on the day on hand claps. I love it. Let's check this one out. Another good one. It all comes together. Jim Horn on the saxophone, fantastic. Skunk on the guitars. The hand clapping from the Cherokee Studio All-Stars was good. A short tune, but a lot of lyrics. And just the overall message is, look, I like the lyrics a lot. Burton's saying here, you learn from life, right? It all comes together. Even though you come through all these trials as you're getting older and as you live life, it's all worth it because that kind of end sum that you end up with, it's worth it, the experience and those different things. He says you cannot trade your wisdom for the youth that you've been missing because it will all come together as you grow. Talking about them being lonely, but that's just one chapter. With you're richer with your treasure with every year that's passing. And every time you think about it, honey, it'll put you through. Yes, it all comes together when you grow. A really good song, man. Enjoyed that one. And now we only got 2 songs left. We're going to go to Roll with the Punches. Also a Burton written song. Joseph says Skunk Baxter and Jeff Porcaro make their final appearances on the album here, as do those Cherokee Studio All-Stars, this time contributing Contemporary Happiness. Joseph is a pretty witty guy, so I look forward to what that Contemporary Happiness is. Wow, Roll with the Punches, a totally different kind of song. Skunk Baxter on guitars, wow, that was quite the performance. The song itself is great because it is so much different. It starts out with Burton talking, right? He's doing this whole diatribe and monologue on, there's a story about a guy who thought he had it all figured out until one day he realized that every day of life is a brand new kick in the teeth. But as he read somewhere in a book a long time ago, if your teeth get kicked in, replace them, turn the other cheek and let that SOB kick them back out again and roll with the punches. And then he just goes through this kind of stories of things that go good and go bad, but at the end of the day, you got to roll with the punches. I love the ladies. They're as juicy as can be, but all I want for Christmas is a penicillin tree. I got to roll with the punches. Which I'll let you interpret that however you want, but just a fun song, man, and something, as I've said a lot on this album, something different than we've heard before on here. And now we're up to the title track, the final track. And he actually didn't write this. Dream of a Child, written by David Foreman. Joseph says here, Burton is only accompanied by Little Feat's Bill Payne on synths and Phyllis St. James on percussion. On a recent Facebook fan Q&A, Burton was asked to name the one song he wished he'd written, and this was the one he answered. In the recently published Wheatfield Empire, The Listener's Guide to the Guess Who, author Robert Lawson quotes Burton as saying that he loved the song, but had to dumb down the chords from Foreman's version as, quote, the strange discordant structures were foreign to me. In the same book, Foreman himself recalls that he knew nothing of Burton's cover of the lead track of his only solo released album, which came out on Arista Records in 1976, until he saw mentions the title of the new Cummings album in a small article in Rolling Stone. We used to have to look at magazines to figure out what was going on. And he says, quote, I was shocked. I didn't really know stuff like that could happen. I'm deeply touched by Burton's love of my song. I recently was able to express my gratitude and warm feelings to him directly. Every songwriter deserves a champion like this guy. Wow, quite the build-up. Dream of a Child. Wow, what a way to end this album. What a perfect choice. I know he didn't write it, but a great way to really showcase him on this final song. Piano work is fantastic, and just his voice and the story of this song, it's great because, when we're a child, we dream anything is possible. So in his mind and his imagination, he can escape When I was a boy, I dreamed that Philip Marlowe, famous, literary detective, he took me as his partner, took me as his friend, gave me his fedora, gave me shotgun fever, took me as his partner to the end. He dreamed he was a jeweler selling stuff to Mrs. Mickey Mantle. Dream of a child, the song of a man, the key and the time are at his command. Dream of a child, the song of a man, the key and time are at his command. Just those repeated lines are so pretty, the way he puts it out there. He dreamed he saved his sister. He dreamed that Elvis Presley was standing on his corner kissing Brenda Lee. Mom always told me true love was born in heaven. She told me how my best friend could steal my love from me. I love Brenda Lee. Brenda Lee loves me. And then it trails off into a nice, pretty outro to end the album. And, just a really good song, man, to kind of harken you back to when you were young and anything was possible. That is going to bring me to my favorite tracks, which is going to be a tough one, right? I'll go with Break It to Them Gently. I will play a Rhapsody. Probably no surprise on that. Hold On, I'm Coming was a fantastic song. Man, I'm going to have a lot of them, right? I think Meaning So Much, I like the lyricism on that. I guess I'll stop there. I mean, there's several other ones I could pop in. There really wasn't a song on here I did not like. That's going to bring me to my overall score. Very surprised at this one. Not that I thought it was going to be bad or anything, but I just expected a different sound, and we had all kinds of different sounds throughout this album. So most impressive, besides the instrumentation, which Joseph set the table at the start, he had some of the best guys at the time in the business on this album. So you expect that. Still, shout out on the drumming, shout out to Skunk on the guitars, and obviously Randy's piano playing is top notch. But his vocals are the real MVP on this for me. The strength of them, the diversity, being able to deliver different styles seamlessly, not seeming like he's out of place or straining himself, was a nice surprise. I'm going to be at a strong 7.75 to an 8 on this thing on first listen, and this is one I will revisit. So thank you, everybody, for joining me. Thank you, Joseph, always bringing me good stuff. You're setting that bar higher and higher, no pressure at all. And until next time, guys, I will see you.